As I hold my niece in my arms, I gaze at the flowers blooming in the garden. My name is Olivia, and I'm 32 years old. My older brother, Johnson, is 4 years my senior, and the proud father of the little girl I'm holding. Our parents, both healthy and well, often visit to spend time with her. To keep my niece entertained today, I set up a small kiddie pool in the garden and filled it with water. As she plays, my mind drifts back to an event from 5 years ago. I was 27 then, and Johnson was 31. One day, he brought a woman home to meet the family. He had met her through a friend of a colleague and was eager for us to get to know her because he wanted to marry her. Her name was Emma, and she was the same age as Johnson. I remember her arriving in a crisp white suit, immaculate despite the risks of stains. She had a reserved demeanor, answering questions only when asked, likely out of nervousness. Their conversation was polite but bland, touching on topics like cold hometowns and tasty fish. Curious, I asked Emma what she liked about Johnson. Her response struck me as odd. He's someone I can introduce to anyone without embarrassment. It wasn't a comment about his personality or any intrinsic quality, just something superficial. A slight unease crept over me that day, an unease that would later grow into certainty. Shortly after Christmas, Johnson was transferred to Los Angeles. It was a promotion, and he was excited, but it complicated their wedding plans. Since the transfer makes it tricky to plan a wedding, I want to do it before I move to Los Angeles, Johnson suggested, but Emma preferred to wait. Although he wouldn't be leaving for LA for another 9 months, she was adamant about delaying the wedding until after the move. It'll sound cooler at the wedding to say I'm working in LA, she explained. Her priority was impressing others. You could say you're planning to move to LA next year, my mother suggested, but Emma was firm. I want to introduce him as someone already working in LA. It has to be the real Los Angeles. Johnson, ever laid back, agreed to her wishes, and they settled on a hectic schedule, flying back the day before the wedding and returning to LA right after. That wasn't the only issue. The wedding costs fell on our family as well. The wedding planner had suggested placing gerberas on each table, but Emma insisted on roses, saying gerberas looked cheap. Her vanity made me increasingly uncomfortable. Then the day before the wedding, something happened that heightened my discomfort. While at work, I received an unusual call from my mother. Her trembling voice on the phone sent a chill down my spine. "Your dad, he's bleeding internally." My hand shook as I held the phone. My dad, who had never been one for health checkups, smoked, drank, and rarely exercised, was the picture of unhealthiness. I recalled an article I'd read about how colon cancer progresses without symptoms. My mom informed me that he'd been rushed to the hospital. I immediately left work to be by his side. Seeing my dad lying in that hospital bed was a shock. Though I had tried to prepare myself, the reality was even more jarring. His face was pale, almost blue. Why hadn't he gone for regular checkups? Maybe this could have been prevented. But there was a more immediate concern. The wedding was the next day. "The wedding is tomorrow," I said to my mom, holding my dad's hand. I tried to stay strong, at least for them. "Yes, and it's too late to cancel the venue now," she replied. "If only we had known, we could have had the wedding before the move to LA. But illness comes without warning." It was the eve of the wedding and panic set in. My brother had likely already boarded his flight, making it impossible to reach him by phone. Desperate, I called Emma and explained the situation, my voice trembling with anxiety. "Hospitalized?" Emma's tone shifted immediately. "Yes, so we're all a bit unsettled," I replied, trying to convey the gravity of the situation. But her response was shocking. "Well, it's good he didn't collapse on the day. He can still make it to the wedding, right?" For a moment, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. How could she be so dismissive? I thought I might not have explained things clearly, so I tried again. "My father was rushed to the hospital today. Right now, he's—" Before I could finish, Emma cut me off sharply. "What are you talking about? It's my big day. He has to be there even if he's dying. Your father will attend, and you and your mother too, of course. You're on reception duty, so come early. Attend." How could she expect us to attend under these circumstances? I stood there stunned as she continued. "We've invited 200 people, you know. It would look terrible if the groom's parents didn't show up. People might think we're on bad terms. Am I supposed to explain this to every guest? The bride is the heroine of the wedding. I can't have people misunderstanding. Please don't embarrass me. Sickness is all in the mind, right? Tell your father to buck up and be there tomorrow. Oh, and tell the groom I requested his dad's attendance. I don't want to look desperate. See you at the venue tomorrow." With that, she abruptly ended the call. I stood there, gripping my phone, my hands trembling in disbelief. "What happened?" my mother asked, her voice full of concern. "That woman," I struggled to find the words as I recounted the unbelievable conversation I'd just had with Emma. My mother was speechless. "That's just—" "I know," I said, barely able to articulate my thoughts. Then, from seemingly nowhere, a faint voice interrupted us. "I'll be there." We turned to see my father, weak but determined, squeezing my mother's hand. "I'll go for my son's big day, even if I have to crawl." Tears welled up in my eyes, moved by his fatherly compassion, but his next words were more resolute. "I had my suspicions, but now I'm certain. It's good that I realize this now. We can't let him marry such an uncaring woman. It's my duty to protect my son." At first, I thought my father's words were a result of delirium. But as I listened more closely, I realized he was right. Emma's vanity had pushed me to my limit as well. We quickly devised a plan to save Johnson from Emma's clutches, pretending to comply with her wishes while secretly plotting her comeuppance. On the day of the wedding, I arrived early to handle the reception. As guests began to arrive, Emma made her entrance in her wedding gown. I couldn't help but compare it to her usual white suits, which made her dress seem less striking. I had no intention of complimenting her. Ignoring my clear hostility, she asked, "Your father is coming, right?" The nerve of her. "He'll be there," I replied, unable to hide my anger. "You said he should come even if it kills him. He'll crawl if he has to." "Really?" "Well, as long as it's not embarrassing," she replied nonchalantly before walking away. I felt a burning desire for retribution. The ceremony went off without a hitch, and soon the reception began. The hall was buzzing with chatter as 200 guests settled into their seats. Suddenly, a louder murmur rippled through the crowd. "What's going on?" I thought. But I already knew. There he was, my father in pajamas, seated in a wheelchair, covered with a blanket, and wearing an oxygen mask. My mother pushed him slowly into the venue. The MC, clearly flustered, checked the time and then announced the entrance of the bride and groom. With a fanfare, the newlyweds entered. When Johnson reached the front and saw my father, he shouted from the stage, "Dad, what happened?" His shocked voice set the room abuzz. Emma, standing beside him, looked confused. My father, struggling to speak through the oxygen mask, rasped out, "Look at me. See, I made it, even if it kills me." Seizing the moment, I raised my voice, making sure everyone could hear. "My father was suddenly hospitalized yesterday after collapsing. He's only just regained consciousness." Yet the bride, Emma, insisted he attend, saying it would look bad if the groom's parents were absent. "Don't embarrass me," she said. So this is what happened. Johnson, who knew nothing of this, was speechless. My words hit him hard. He looked bewildered, his gaze darting between Emma, me, and our father. "It's okay, Johnson," my father whispered faintly. "I have no regrets in my life. Thank you, Mom, for everything." "What's going on?" Johnson demanded, turning to Emma, who stammered, "Wait, hold on. That's not how it—" She turned to me, but it was too late. "Time to reveal everything," I said, my voice steady. "Oh, and I forgot to mention," the bride also said, "don't tell anyone I asked you to get your father-in-law to attend. I don't want to seem desperate." Emma was panicking now. "I told you not to say that." I mocked her. She told me not to tell anyone. The sound of my father's oxygen mask, eerily reminiscent of Darth Vader, filled the room as Emma and I stared each other down. The room fell silent, every guest watching us intently. "Johnson," I continued, "Dad had massive internal bleeding yesterday and was rushed to the hospital. The bathroom was reportedly covered in blood. But you were already on the plane, unreachable, so I informed Emma of the situation. Not a single word of concern from her, just demands that he attend, even if it meant dying." I was beyond shocked, speechless. "That's why Dad is here in this condition." "What do you think? Are you really going to marry someone who thinks it's okay to sacrifice others for her own sake?" I shared memories of our father with the room, recalling how he had always been there for Johnson. "Remember, Dad? Like when you helped Johnson with that science project, The piggy bank contest. You made an amazing postbox piggy bank and won a prize. Or when you climbed trees at summer camp to catch beetles for him, even though you never caught any and fell from the tree. That part wasn't necessary, my father muttered softly through the mask, but no one seemed to hear him. Tears welled up in Johnson's eyes. Are you okay with a wife who can say such heartless things to a dad like that? That's right, me too. A voice suddenly called out from the audience. Turning around, I saw a heavily pregnant woman. I'm due any day now, yet Emma told me to come to the wedding no matter what. The bride is the heroine. Don't embarrass me, she said. Her belly looked ready to burst, and it must have been excruciating just to sit there. But the revelations didn't end. Me too. Another voice shouted. I just gave birth a month ago, and she said I wasn't sick. The situation spiraled out of control. Then came the clincher. I was just a friend of a friend of a friend, invited to pad the numbers. I hardly even know the bride. Even complete strangers were in attendance, bewildered by the chaos. Johnson was speechless. I wanted a big wedding, right? Your company has a lot of people, and it would look good for me too. I did it for you, asking everyone to attend. Emma's reasoning was falling apart. Then, a sharp snap rang out. A woman had slapped Emma across the cheek, sending her crumpling to the floor. It was her mother. That woman. How could you? Her mother cried out. My daughter, she's always been like this. In elementary school, she'd say her dad looked shabby and shouldn't come to school events. Always caring about appearances, threatening to study abroad if her grades didn't improve. It was okay when it was just our family, but now she's troubling others. This is disgraceful. She then turned to us, deeply apologetic. I'm so sorry for my daughter's behavior. I know sorry isn't enough, but please forgive us. Emma's mother, able to scold and apologize for her daughter in such a situation, was admirable, so unlike Emma. But Emma protested. Why are you embarrassing me in front of everyone? You're my parent. She looked ready to lash out at her own mother. Enough, Johnson said, restraining the chaotic Emma. I'm sorry, really sorry to everyone. And Dad, I'm sorry I didn't know. My father took off his oxygen mask and said calmly, no worries. I couldn't stand her attitude, and I thought you'd suffer if you married her. What's it called? I even borrowed this Paco Paco. Wait, what? Emma gaped in astonishment. The Paco Paco mask my father referred to was just a plastic mask, not meant for oxygen inhalation. My mother, who worked part-time at a family restaurant, had used these 3D plastic masks. It looks more like a sick person, he had said, deciding to wear it after discussing it with my mother. From a distance, without a closer look, it could easily be mistaken for an oxygen mask. As for his internal bleeding and diagnosis, my father tossed away the thick cushion he had been sitting on. It was hemorrhoids. What? Hemorrhoids? The bride, groom, and the entire hall erupted in astonishment. Ouch, ouch, ouch. My father yelped as he tried to sit back in the wheelchair without the cushion, clearly still in pain. Come on, Dad, you can't sit without a cushion. You just had surgery, my mother scolded, picking up the cushion he had thrown. Then she turned to Emma's mother, who looked dejected. Please raise your head, she said. Not many can scold their child and apologize so sincerely. I'm truly impressed by your genuineness. Emma's mother, with tears streaming down her face, hugged my mother. My mother embraced her, comforting her. Everyone now understood. It's annulment time, Johnson spoke coldly to Emma, having witnessed everything. 5 years later, Emma's true nature, exposed at the wedding, led to her being disowned by relatives present, and naturally by her parents as well. Her vain nature seemed incurable, even with advice. Inviting complete strangers from her workplace to the wedding had made the entire fiasco known at her job, leading to an awkward resignation. I saw her once at a grocery store. She looked unkempt, wearing dirty clothes that hadn't been washed for days, her hair disheveled. I don't have a job. Can you help me reconcile with Johnson? She begged. He's in LA, I replied bluntly, refusing her plea. The waters filled up, my father called out, squatting by the side. He had been exposing his embarrassing ointment-covered backside for a while, but now seemed fine. And the pool looks cool, my niece Mary exclaimed as she ran off my lap toward the pool. Indeed, after that ordeal, my brother fell in love with and married a French woman in Los Angeles, who gave birth to Mary. She's 3 years old, with blue eyes and blonde hair, like a little doll, melting all our hearts. Mary joyfully splashed in the pool, light glinting off the water. "Take care," a clear voice called out as my sister-in-law, Sophia, appeared holding flip-flops. "Sorry for the mischief," she said cutely. I love how she tries to learn the language for us. "There's a festival today. Let's go together tonight," I suggested. "A festival?" "Yay." Sophia beamed, just like Mary.